Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And as you can see today, we are in a new location. My living room. I know it's early. Many of you probably won't see this message till way later. However, I woke up at 4:44 today. I was woken up at 4:44, which is an extremely important number in correlation to the message that I'm about to deliver. Okay. Haven't even finished my tea yet. For those of you who are new here, I'm High Priestess May. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining me. I know there's a lot of new people that have just started to follow me. And I just want to say thank you for your support and good morning. So my topic of today is understanding the fourth dimension, because yesterday after my channeling that I did last night, I got a lot of questions, and I woke up this morning. I was actually woken up this morning by Archangel Metatron, which many of you may or may not know as the father of sacred geometry. In his incarnation on Earth, Archangel Metatron was known as Enoch and is very much related to Enochian magic. So what I want you to understand is what he wants you to understand as well, is that we are magical beings living a 3D existence. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that through understanding the three-dimensional and the other dimensions, or at least starting to understand them, we are able to tap into our ability to become co-creators of the universe. We are not automatically let me rephrase that. We are constantly co-creating the universe. However, we are not automatically masters of it. Okay? Because there's a lot of things that we have to remember. We do incarnate into the physical existence without knowledge. We choose to forget so that it is easier for us to separate our incarnations. And then later on, we must remember in order to fulfill our missions. And our spirit guides assist us in remembering as much as we need to in order to fulfill our mission in this lifetime. So this message is a message from Archangel Metatron. Like I said, I woke up at 4:44 this morning. A number that is very, very connected in numerology to this dimension that I'm going to speak about. So right now, very important message. If you did not see my message from last night, you don't necessarily have to see it before this, but it is beneficial for you to watch it as well. The first thing that I want to talk about, first of all, I want to welcome the energy of Archangel Metatron in today to help me explain to you a little bit about sacred geometry and how that plays into the fourth dimension, as well as to help us all understand the fourth dimension and how it affects us in this realm, and how we are able to become masters of it in order to become co-creators that are in control of the creations that we create within the third dimension. For those of you who don't know that we're in the third dimension, welcome. We are in the third dimension. The earthly realm is the third dimension. Like I mentioned last night, being in the third dimension is actually a privilege, because it is the only dimension, according to what the archangels have shared with me, that allows us to actually incarnate into a physical atomic body, meaning that we actually have matter that we can touch, that we can feel, that we can see, and it's very and we are very bound by the laws of nature of this dimension when we are connected to Mother Earth. Okay, so first of all, again, I want to welcome Archangel Metatron in and also thank him for allowing us to have this knowledge. Many of you may also know Archangel Metatron as the voice of God, as that is what his angel name means. So let's get on to it. So the fourth dimension, first of all, remember that everything that has a has an existence in our minds, also has an existence in the physical reality that we experience, right? So the fourth dimension, first of all, is the cube that rules our first three chakras. So the fourth dimension it belongs pretty much here. So if you think about it, which is why the term thinking outside of the box was created, because this is the box, okay? The box, the crown, the third eye, the throat chakra. If you put it this way and then you put it this way, we are in this box, okay? The fourth dimension is represented by the cube in sacred geometry. So when we think about the fourth dimension, I'm going to just draw a little diagram. We are thinking about the cube. So we are learning to think either in the box or outside of the box. And the only way, and we have to remember that there is a portal to all of the dimensions within the cube. So therefore, all of the dimensions are both inside of the cube and outside of the cube. So we have to understand the cube and understand how the cube works. So when we talk about the cube, we're talking about the crown chakra, the third eye in our physical existence, and the throat chakra, meaning that which we think, we speak, and we project with our third eye into the physical realm, okay? Now, when we're in that box, we have to be very careful, because if we get stuck in the box and we only think about the things that we are taught, then the things that we give breath to and that we give life to through our words, through our throat chakra, become detrimental to our lives, and can either create great things in our lives or can create terrible things in our lives. So we have to be very careful with what we do in this box, okay? The fourth dimension is ruled by the planet Mercury. So Archangel Metatron and Archangel Michael were sharing with me the other day that each planet is a dimension. So in each planet, we find a physical representation of the dimensions that are also within our bodies, okay? So this could be saying that we are inside of us as is outside of us, okay? So everything that we see in nature, everything that we see in space is actually a projection of what's inside of us as well. So the fourth dimension belongs to Mercury. Now, a lot of you guys may know about Mercury and Mercury Retrograde. Mercury, the planet of Mercury, that I now know as the fourth dimension, happens to be the planet of communication and thought. So it is the planet that controls a lot of what happens in this box of the crown, the third eye, and the throat chakra. And what happens during Mercury retrograde, the slowing down of Mercury's orbit towards Earth, which is the third dimension, tends to cause miscommunication, tends to cause confusion in the mind, and tends to cause us to speak into existence a lot of blockages for ourselves and for the collective. So keeping in mind that Mercury is the fourth dimension, okay? The fourth dimension controls our thoughts and communication. So whenever we are in that period of Mercury retrograde, we have to be extra careful of what comes in through the third dimension. What does that mean? Psychic attacks. Comes into the fourth dimension, not the third. The fourth dimension, and then projects into the third dimension. So what does that mean? That we're talking about psychic attacks, both from other people as well as from ourselves as well, because we do have a shadow self that has a tendency to psychically attack us as well. We are also talking about psychic attacks from other interdimensional beings. So interdimensional beings meaning spirits, meaning what we consider demonic entities, which are the entities of the shadow of the universe. Okay, so like I said, there is a shadow within us and there's also a shadow outside of us. Why? Because everything that's in our physical box, in our bodies, in our energy is also manifested into the physical realm of the universe, because the universe is a unified projection of the human box. Okay, so funny enough, we are these planets rotating around this very hot star, because we have to remember that the sun is a star, so the stars are always out, right? The sun is our closest star and it's our brightest star. So what does the sun do? The sun actually brings illumination to all of the planets that orbit around it. And a lot of the times, we notice that it is at night. It is when the sun is on another side of our planet that we experience the majority of mental attacks, okay? Because remember, the second dimension actually gave birth to the fourth dimension. The second dimension is the dimension of light and darkness, okay? So light and shadow, masculine and femininity, conscious and subconscious is the realm of the second dimension. The second dimension, we were born from the first as souls. We had to experience duality of the second dimension, and then we had to incarnate in a physical body. Okay, so we think of a point that is the first dimension. The first dimension is this point in the universe where God goes, "Let there be light," boom, and this cosmic explosion of God saying, "Let there be light," whatever you call God, created this universe that allowed matter to start coming together to become different dimensions and different levels of existence. Okay, so we have the point of the universe where light is born, and it's born from darkness, it's born from chaos. So chaos is the shadows that we see in the universe, in space. So the black that we see, the sky at night, right? The sky that we see at night are the shadows of the universe. The stars are actually the lights. And the stars and the moon are their own dimensions. The moon actually belongs to the dimension of emotion, of the subconscious mind, which is why the moon actually helps us, okay? Because emotionally, it can help us or it can actually hurt us, depending on how attuned we are, how balanced we are in all of our energy centers. So the moon can actually assist us through positive emotion, through amplifying positive emotion. But remember, the moon is an amplifier. So the moon is an amplifier of the dimension of the fourth dimension. So it is an amplifier of the subconscious mind. Okay? So what happens in the subconscious mind when we have the moon amplifying it? So you can either use the moon to your favor, meaning that you can amplify positive emotions, and in turn, the atoms of water in your body can help overcome the negative shadows that may creep up in the middle of the night when you're trying to go to sleep, and you all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can't sleep. I'm overthinking this. I'm going over this thing in my mind and I just can't seem to get away from it. Okay. So the moon energies can also assist your shadow self in the process of healing. Okay. It can help as well to help you travel through the fourth dimension, both spiritually and physically in a way, but more primarily spiritually, because when we are at, when we, that is why as humans, we are a physical incarnation which requires sunlight, which is why sunlight is required in order for us to sleep well, in order for us to open our third eye, in order for us to balance our chakras. We need the light of the sun, okay? That masculine energy. And we also need the feminine energy of the moon, because the moon also has its purpose, okay? So I'm about to get into the retrogrades in a minute. Someone just asked a question about the retrogrades. But we have to get, in order to assist us in controlling the fourth dimension, we have to hone in on the energies of the sun and the moon. Why? Because the sun represents the masculine, the masculine, the balanced masculine, and the moon represents the balanced feminine, okay? Which is why for us as a human incarnation, even though we are a being of light, before we incarnate into the physical reality, we are a being of light. We are just two atoms existing from the first dimension into the second dimension as a positive and negative ion, okay? So that is what we actually are, which is light. This is what creates electricity, right? We have these interactions between positive and negative ions, and it creates electricity in the physical realm. But we don't understand that we are actually electric ourselves, because we have to have those two things come together. The atoms, the positive and negative atoms of the second dimension. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm only explaining to you what the archangels are saying to me right now, is that we are the positive and the negative vibration, all right, meeting up here with the physical incarnation, which creates a triangle of incarnation, and that is the third dimension, okay? So that is the third dimension, which allows us the meeting of the positive and the negative. So what does that mean? That means that in order for us to live in the third dimension and control our fourth dimension, which creates our thoughts, creates our projection, and speaks breath to our realities, we have to have enough sunlight and enough moonlight, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is that we must allow for the flow of energy, okay? What does that mean? That means that if we get stuck on a thought and we give it energy and give it energy and giving energy, that thought gets stuck. And what happens is that thought gets stuck here in the third eye, which is actually the projector. The third eye is the projector of reality, okay? So what happens is what you are able to see in your mind is then pushed through the fourth dimension, through your third eye, into the third dimension, creating your reality. So in order for us to have a positive experience of reality, we must be careful with the thoughts that we get stuck on, okay? With the thoughts that we get stuck on that come in through here, right? Either through light or shadow. You'll notice that the people who tend to get a lot of sunlight and moonlight are much more positive thinkers, and that is because they get more light exposure versus shadow exposure. So if you're always in the dark, if you're always at home sitting in the dark, or you only go out at night, or you only get a lot of, you go out at night when there's not a lot of moonlight, or when you're around the new moon, sometimes, the energies you feel more negative. You feel more stuck, okay? And that's because we are not allowing the energy to flow. So what is the way? So what are the practical ways? Because I like to be practical, because the archangels can move on and on and on and talk and on and on and on about theory, But here's the thing. What are the practical applications of this? In order for us to be able to control our fourth dimension, we must first get enough light, meaning the sun and the moon, to balance our masculine and feminine energies, okay? Secondly, we must get enough water, which charges our ions, okay? Which charges the electricity within our body, okay? Because we have to remember what conducts electricity in the physical third dimensional world. That is water. Water is a massive conductor of electricity. Number 3, we must allow the energy to flow, meaning give energy only to the things which you truly want to create. Though it's okay to have negative thoughts, we're not going to have positive thoughts 1,000 times in the day. That's not going to happen. That's unrealistic for a human existence. However, allowing those negative thoughts to flow, rejecting them from your reality, and learning to actually distinguish and discriminate, discriminate against those, have discernment, discernment from against those negative thoughts, and saying, that is not my reality. Therefore, that is not the reality that I will perpetuate in the universe. Okay? So we have to allow the energy to flow. So what happens? What happens when we get stuck in our heart energy, okay? When we get hurt by something and then we keep overthinking it, what happens is a lot of us end up feeling stuck. We end up feeling stuck. It actually damages our ability to become co-creators. It damages our ability to become co-creators in this third dimension. And what happens is it also weakens us to more attacks from the shadow energies of the universe. Because you have to remember, the shadow energies exist within us first, and then they existed within the universe. But it's interesting because it's a whole cycle, because shadow was the beginning. The beginning of life was shadow until this energy said, let there be light, and this light erupted that allowed for the life in the universe to start to be created. So what happens when we are in that stuck energy? When we allow energy to get stuck, remember, we are magical beings living a human existence. When we allow that energy to get stuck, it's like overloading an electrical switch, and we become stagnant, and then everything shuts off. Everything shuts down to us. Everything that we should be able to access, such as of our dreams, our projections within the box, is closed off to us. Okay, so we have to learn to balance our light and our shadows in order for us to experience the process of co-creation in a way that is beneficial for us, because we always are experiencing co-creation. You just may not be aware of it. You may not be aware that everything that is happening in your reality, you are actually projecting into your reality. And then what happens is we become a collective of these negative thoughts, which is why the media is so dangerous. The media is so dangerous because they project their thoughts onto the masses, and then the masses turn on their fourth dimensional abilities, not even realizing it. And then we create these crazy experiences in this world where we continue to perpetuate hunger, violence, abuse of children, and all of these things that the shadow beings are responsible for. And The fourth dimension is also the dimension of sexuality. So, why? Because in order for us to exist in the third dimension, we have to be born from the second dimension, which is mother and father. The coming together of mother and father is the coming together of that positive and negative ion, because mother and father are that positive and negative ion. They're that masculine and feminine energy, and with them coming together is how we are able to be born as a third dimensional being. So sex, both healthy sex and unhealthy sex, are things of the second dimension, and the second dimension gives birth to the fourth dimension. Okay? Because without the second dimension, the fourth dimension cannot exist, because otherwise you would not be traveling through the fourth dimension, because you would just be a being of light in some other dimension, such as the fifth, sixth, seventh, or eighth, or ninth dimension. Okay? You would just be an orb of light, because that's what we are until we incarnate in the physical realm. So, being careful as well to what energies we listen to what other projections we listen to outside of ourselves, okay? That is also why what we tell our children is so important, because as our children are growing up, we are programming their box. We are programming their box. We are programming how they perceive the world, how their fourth dimension functions, how inside or outside of the fourth dimensional box they are able to think and then speak and then project into their reality. So how we speak to our children is also extremely detrimental, because that is creating the future. That is why, from a biological perspective, right, having children at a very young age is really important, right? But from a biological perspective, because biologically we are more fertile when we're younger. However, spiritually, it is not recommended, because when you have not remembered yourself and you have not taken the time to heal the wounds of past lives and the current life incarnation, and you have not had time to enlighten yourself on the power of your thoughts and the power of your speech, you continue to perpetuate the negative that you don't want to see into your children. And then what goes into your children goes into your grandchildren and goes into your great-grandchildren, and so on and so forth. And that is what we call a generational curse. Curses are real. However, there are not these things just that other people send our way. There are things that we ourselves create through our habits, what we pass on to our children, because we do not take the time to learn who we are before we experience the connection between the connection in the second dimension, which then creates a third dimensional being, which then creates a fourth dimensional being. Do you get what I'm saying? So when we get to retrogrades, that is why during retrogrades, we have to be extremely careful and we have to rethink, because Mercury controls the fourth dimension, right? So the planet Mercury controls the fourth dimension. It is, in its sense, the fourth dimension itself. So if we do not control our thoughts or reevaluate our thoughts during retrogrades, what ends up happening is that we may end up projecting much faster and creating much faster the things that we do not desire, rather than the things that we do desire. Why? Because we tend to give more thought to things that make us feel uncomfortable. So let's say you suspect that your significant other is being unfaithful to you. So what happens is, we're in Mercury retrograde. What happens is that we amplify that energy, because we're automatically going to give that thought. We're going to think about it, and we're going to think about it, and we're going to stew in it. And it's very likely that we are going to communicate that in some way, either with nonverbal communication or verbal communication. And what's going to happen is that there's going to be an extreme miscommunication, which then is going to cause people to, then is going to cause your partner to probably say, damn, you don't trust me, which then is going to go into their fourth dimensional mind, into their box. And then they're going to it may sit in the back of their mind for a while. But then eventually you may actually end up manifesting what you just put out into the universe about your partner. And then we wonder, what did I do to attract this? A lot of the times we attract that which we fear. Why? Because the energy of fear seems to grab us, especially in the fourth dimension. It grabs us and it doesn't let us go. And a lot of the times we feed it. Which is why during the Mercury Retrograde, so the retrograde of the fourth dimension, we have to be very careful as to the thoughts we give energy to, the communications we have with one another, because the communications can be messed up. Things can come out not the way that you meant them to come out, not the way that you meant them to exist in the physical reality. However, what happens is that you end up creating a chain of events that started in the fourth dimension and then start to project in every facet of your life. Right. So in summary, what do we need to do? Like I said before, get enough sunlight, get enough moonlight to balance your masculine and feminine energies. Keep yourself hydrated and fed with high vibrational foods. Allow the energy to flow. Okay? The box of the fourth dimension is also very much influenced by the Mars energy of the Saturn and Mars energy of the solar plexus. So you have to be careful what you're giving energy to. Okay? Allowing the energy to flow, because we are electrical beings. So we have to allow ourselves to be the channels for electricity, for that electrical charge from the universe, not like literal electricity, but the electrical charge from the universe, from light, okay? Light and water coming together. And allow ourselves to flow. Also, allowing ourselves to evaluate our thoughts in a way that is constructive. Is that thought valid? Is there really truly a evidence for that thought? Also, and thoughts that also give off negative emotions, allowing those negative emotions to come up and be released so that you can move forward and you don't get stuck in that energy. So allowing the flow of the negative and the positive thoughts to just flow, instead of allowing yourself to get stuck on a particular topic out of fear. Because what happens is that fear feeds the shadows. It feeds the shadows that don't benefit us, which then create blockages. Also, making sure to clear your energy. So clearing your energy is the most important thing in spiritual practices ever. And I don't think I say this enough. There are so many of us that want to conjure money, love, health, but we are not clearing our energies. We have to clear our energies. And one of the main ways to clear our energies is through spiritual cleansings. And spiritual cleansings, yes, they do have to include the head, because the head is the fourth dimensional box. There are certain herbs that you shouldn't use if you have some sort of initiation or crowning, depending on your practice. However, you must clean the box of that energy. You must, and the use of herbs to assist us in that is such a gift from our Creator, because we are able to have these spirit beings that are higher dimensional than us, many of them belonging to the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th dimensions. We are able to use these, we are able to take advantage of these spiritual beings, which are plants, to assist ourselves. You have to cleanse. Cleansing yourself is one of the most important tools to assist you in addition to the other things we talked about when it comes to controlling your 4th dimension. There's a lot of people that don't want you cleansing your 4th dimension space, because it allows them to control your mind, and it allows them to manipulate your mind and manipulate your 4th dimension and how you perceive the world and what comes into the 3rd dimension from that 4th dimensional space. Okay? We must remember that. We must remember how important it is to spiritually cleanse before we even conjure anything, because we cannot be a co-creator for what we want if we do not cleanse ourselves. Okay? Even if it's as simple as grounding yourself with salt, cleansing yourself with salt from the head down. Okay? That is why bathing in the ocean, which is associated with the goddess Yemaya, with the Orisha Yemaya, and with the goddess Isis, these feminine energies, they are cleansers. Okay? And even if something as simple as cleansing yourself with salt baths, or and it doesn't have to be a bath, especially if you're pregnant, you can use a shower. So you can do a shower of salt, a little bit of salt, a palm of salt, in a big quart or 2 of water to cleanse yourself. Okay, even if it's just a matter of grounding yourself. But spiritual cleansing, if you're beginning on your journey, because I'm starting to do these lives because many more people are starting to awaken, and Spirit told me my purpose is to remember so that I can assist those who are starting to awaken. Okay? Spiritual cleansing is the first tool that you must master in your spiritual path. Okay? And that includes cleansing the box up here, because if you're not cleansing the box, you will believe any bullshit anybody tells you. I'm sorry to tell you this. There's a lot of people out there who think they know everything, and I am telling you, if you do not cleanse this box, you will believe any bullshit, excuse my language, any BS, and that BS is going to come into your 4th dimension, and that BS is going to project into the 3rd dimension, and then that BS just creates this circle of BS that is not productive. The ritual of cleansing is extremely important. The ritual of, you don't have to be a herbalist or a spiritual herbalist. If you don't know how to cleanse, find someone that you trust to do a cleanse for you, because there are some energies that you can't cleanse off of yourself, because you need an external energy to help that energy get moving, especially if you are a person that tends to get stuck. Okay? But there is a lot of stuff that you can do to help yourself. And the first thing to help yourself is learn how to cleanse yourself, and then learn some sort of divination so that you can start to hone your intuition to what your spirit guides are trying to tell you, because your spirit guides are coming in through the 4th dimension. But if you are clouded by other things in the 4th dimension, your spirit guides cannot connect to you through the 4th dimension in either in form of the clairs, such as clairsentient, clairvoyance, clairaudient, claircognizant, or and so on and so forth, or through dreams, or through physical manifestations. They are not able to assist you because your fourth dimensional box is full of BS. So cleansing yourself is extremely important. And then learning some sort of divinational art doesn't mean that you have to be an expert in readings. Reading for yourself, pulling a card for yourself, learning the pendulum, learning to meditate, learning to pray, learning to feel energy, okay, is extremely important for us to not become dependent again on others doing the work for us. And being able to do the work for ourselves and understand the fourth dimension so that we can get to the fifth dimension, the dimension of love, and the sixth dimension, the dimension of creation, and the seventh dimension, which is the dimension of heaven, which we will talk about that later on, and the eighth dimension, which is the dimension of us remembering everything from our Akashic records, and then the ninth dimension, which is one of the ultimate dimensions that we must all attain mentally through the fourth dimension so that we can complete our mission and ascend. The gut is extremely connected to the mind because your solar plexus is also very much connected to the mind. So it is important to try to, that is why they say in a lot of shamans believe that in order for you to remember your dreams and to have better connection in your dreams through the fourth dimension, it is important for you not to eat too late at night. Because if you eat too late at night, you're blocking that solar plexus chakra because it's taking that energy from the fourth dimension box to digest your food. So what happens is when you're very heavy in the solar plexus, you block the flow of the connection to the fourth dimension, which allows you to connect to other dimensions of light. So it's important for us to cleanse ourselves internally, to do, juice cleanses. I don't believe in water cleanses. I think that's extremely unhealthy. I believe in juice cleanses, things like celery juice. The medical medium has amazing cleanses, but it's really important for us to cleanse our gut. Doesn't mean that we have to stop eating meat. Different people choose to not eat meat. Different people choose to be vegan or vegetarian or whatever. You don't have to be, but you can still eat meat, but you have to make sure that you're cleansing yourself. What happens is when we eat animal products such as meat, those things tend to sit in our gut and rot. And what happens is the rotting chemicals of that energy goes into our brain and then affects our interaction with the fourth dimension. Okay, so cleansing yourself internally is really important. Especially usually we say doing it around every 3 months in the solstices and equinoxes, because that is the natural flow of the earth cleansing itself energetically, and we can do that. We can follow that flow ourselves. Okay, so that is all that I have for you today. I hope that this helps you understand the fourth dimension a little bit more. I will be speaking on the other dimensions. I will probably be dedicating a video. There's a lot of things that the Spirit has shared with me when it comes to the third dimension, magic, the ability to control our realities, and all those kinds of things that it takes a lot of time to explain to someone else. So there's going to be a lot of videos. I wasn't really sure where to start, and then Spirit guided me to do the video yesterday. And then I was guided this morning by Archangel Metatron. I want to thank Archangel Metatron for using me as a vessel to relay the message to you. So there will be more videos. However, I have to pace them as Spirit tells me to, because there is a major awakening happening right now in the universe. because we control pretty much this entire solar system, as this entire solar system kind of reacts to us and we react to it. Okay. Just a few last things before I go, so that way, in case anyone does not know about this, don't forget that the tarot course is now open for enrollment, and for the 1 year anniversary, we are doing a over 50% off sale off of the tarot course. It's beneficial for anybody to take a tarot course if you are interested and called to the tarot. Secondly, we also have the Etsy shop. It's for the magical tools that I make is open right now. My Etsy shop is open for pre-orders. The next launch will be on the fall equinox, which will be September 21st for the new products. And thirdly, but not least, we also have 3 community rituals happening this month. All of this stuff you can find in my link in bio. Okay, so 3 community rituals. The first ritual is for self-love with Metresili Frida. The second ritual is for prosperity, and you are allowed 1 petition with Saint Expedite. And then the third ritual is for protection with Archangel Michael and Belia Belkan. So thank you for joining me today. I hope that this video enlightened you in some way and continues to help you grow on your spiritual awakening and your spiritual path. Many blessings, and I'll talk to you guys later.